I want a divorce. And he knows everything.
My name is Ethan Holla. I'm 38 years old, and for 10 years, my marriage to Clara felt like a safe harbor, warm, steady, and secure. But lately, a hollowness had crept in, a quiet emptiness that settled between us. So when Clara invited me to her office party, I said yes immediately. I hoped that being around her colleagues, seeing her in her element, might help us find our way back to each other. The party was on a rooftop, and it was beautiful. Soft lights were strung everywhere, gentle music floated on the breeze, and laughter drifted like slow, easy waves. Clara looked absolutely incredible. She wore an emerald dress that seemed to capture every light in the room, making her glow. My eyes, of course, were fixed on her. She's always thrived in social settings, a whirlwind of charm and energy. I was the opposite, the quiet half, the steady anchor to her storm. For years, I thought that balance worked perfectly. The evening started out just like any other. I stayed close by her side as she mingled. I'd smile politely when she introduced me, and she'd laugh when someone paid her a compliment. It was a familiar rhythm, one we danced to 1,000 times. But then something shifted. We were walking, and my hand was resting lightly on the small of her back. She brushed it off, just like you'd flick away a piece of lint. It was a tiny gesture, almost unnoticeable, but it sent a chill through me that I couldn't shake. Still, I tried to push it aside. I tried to remain optimistic. A little later, we were standing near the buffet table. She leaned in toward me, her eyes half-lidded, lips slightly parted. It was a look we had shared 1,000 times, a silent invitation for a kiss, a spark of connection. I leaned in too, gently, warmly, ready to meet her halfway. But just as our lips were about to touch, she whispered, her voice cold and flat, "Not in the mood to taste your lover." My entire world froze. For a split second, I was certain I had misheard her. Why would she say something so cruel? And so calmly, I looked at her, searching her face for a sign that it was a joke, a mistake, but her expression hadn't changed. There was no laugh, no apology, no attempt to take it back. She meant every word. Years of our life together had taught me restraint. I knew that getting angry would only play into whatever negative story she was building in her mind. So instead of reacting, I took a small step back and replied quietly, "I understand." Her eyes flickered for just a moment. I saw something in them, confusion, maybe even a flash of shock or guilt. But she didn't apologize. She just turned around and walked back to her colleagues as if nothing had happened at all. I stood there and watched her from a distance. I saw her laughing with a coworker, maybe a little too closely. I saw her toss her hair back, glowing for everyone in the room except for me. It wasn't just the kiss she had rejected. It was me. And in that moment, the real truth hit me, harder and sharper than her words ever could. This wasn't a sudden change. This was the final, undeniable moment in a long pattern I had desperately tried to ignore for months. The lost intimacy, the dismissive answers, the cold glances, the forced smiles. The growing distance that was always disguised as stress from work. I had been fighting to revive something that only one of us was still fighting for. But that realization didn't break me. It woke me up. After she said what she said, I didn't follow her. I didn't chase her. I didn't demand an explanation. I simply stepped outside onto the balcony. The cool May air felt good against my skin, clearing my mind. Below me, the city lights flickered like a steady, indifferent heartbeat. I took a deep breath and finally allowed myself to feel every single emotion I had been suppressing for so long. Not rage, not jealousy, not even fear. Just a profound, quiet clarity. Inside, the party continued. Clara kept laughing, kept dancing, kept leaning in close to her coworkers as if her husband wasn't even in the room. But as I watched her, humiliation didn't consume me. I was no longer seeing her as a wounded partner. I was seeing the truth for the very first time. And the truth was simple. My marriage had been running on my effort alone for a very long time. When I finally walked back inside, something fundamental inside me had shifted. I was no longer the desperate husband trying to win back his wife's affection. I wasn't the invisible man trying to find his place in her world. I was simply done being disrespected. Hours passed before she even seemed to notice my distance. It was near the end of the night, during dessert, when she finally approached me with a hesitant, cautious smile. "You're acting different," she said softly, her tone like someone carefully prodding a sleeping animal, unsure of what might happen. "For once," I replied calmly, my voice steady, "I'm respecting myself as much as I've always respected you." Her smile faltered, the confidence drained from her face. "Ethan, what does that mean?" she asked. I didn't explain. I didn't defend my feelings. I didn't try to soothe her sudden discomfort. I simply turned and walked away again. For the first time in years, she was unsure of me. She was unsure of her hold over me. And in that very moment, something in her changed too. A flicker of discomfort, of fear crossed her face, because she had finally realized the quiet, steady man she had taken for granted for so long was no longer willing to be a doormat. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more content.